Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Bridgett. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So tonight's conversation is going to be one that's very much thought-provoking, one that I definitely want you to engage in, and one that is so appropriate just in time for Father's Day. So first, before we get this conversation started, welcome to all of my new followers, to all of my new friends, and my new social media family. Welcome to my community of being CEOs. I am Bridgett Battles, Executive President Strategist, and I call my community CEOs because you are the Chief Executive Officer of your own life. You have the power to write your own narrative. You have the power to tell your story, and you have the power to dictate the outcome. So let me tell you something. Tonight's show is about to help you get your entire life tonight, all right? So it's not often that I get a chance to sit down and have conversation with men who are so transparent. And even during the process of being transparent, they are so careful to help other men. And so that's why this conversation is so important tonight. So can you please help me welcome the author of Daddy Issues, Tim Wortham Jr. Hey, Tim, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you, Bridgett?
I am excellent. I am so excited about this conversation tonight. Like, I've been reading the book all day, and I got questions, and I'm looking forward to such a wonderful dialogue. So just before we get started, we got to say hey to some of our friends tonight. All right. So first of all, Cameron Stokes, welcome, Cameron. Thank you so much for sharing. Eric Holmes, thank you for joining us. Krishan Brown, my family in North Carolina. Krishan, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. So Tim, this is your first time being on Coffee with Bridgett. All right. So now, I saw you in the green room, so I know that you do have your mug. All right. Oh, wait a minute. I got to say hello to Tim's beautiful wife, Miss Wanda Wortham. Thank you so much for joining us. Tim, let me see what you're working with tonight. Because I love it. See, I love it. So if you don't have your mug, it's okay. You can get your mug next time, or if you want to run to the other room and get your mug so that you can with us. Or you can also go to www.thebbexperience.com and get your Coffee with Bridgett mug. So, Tim, I have to tell you that just as you are favored by God, I'm favored by God, and I'm glad that both of us walk in such spirit of excellence, but also as being people who are committed to helping other people. So, when you're committed to helping other people, people are committed to helping you. So before we get into our dialogue, I definitely have to give a shout out to my sponsor for tonight's show. Yeah, I'm growing up in the world. I'm big time now. I got sponsors for my show. Okay.
Yeah.
For the show tonight is Claude Hamilton, the Creative Genius Studios out of Atlanta, Georgia. And the Creative Genius Studios is responsible tonight for my jacket tonight. You see the Bridgett Battles logo on it? Y'all see my Bridgett Battles logo? And let me also share with you my leather wallet that's going to hold all my millions in it. See this? And the Creative Genius Studio sent me pool slides for when I go to Cabo, because I'm going to Cabo at some point this year. And the last piece, my duffel bag. So have to give a shout out to Creative Genius Studios for being tonight's sponsor. So y'all like my jacket? Y'all like my jacket? Put in the car. Hey, Rosalind. Hey, Benita. Y'all like my jacket? Because I'm thinking about adding, the jacket, and they also sent me a kimono. I'll give y'all a whole photo shoot soon, okay?
Well, all right.
Don't play with me. We doing things over here. Now listen. All right, so Tim, let's get into this conversation. So I remember when we first met. Do you remember when we met?
I absolutely do.
So y'all, for those of you, who don't know, I'm also a preacher. And I am one of the executive pastors at Love Fellowship Tabernacle under Bishop Hezekiah Walker. And I was preaching for Pastor Marlene Bussey's birthday celebration. And that is when we met. Tim was on the organ.
Yes.
And let me tell y'all, not only does he have skills, but he's anointed. and he knows how to shift the atmosphere.
Wow.
And so for me, that says a lot. That says a lot, especially for somebody you don't know. Like, this was your first time seeing me. This country girl from North Carolina. This was your first time seeing her, okay? But he has such an amazing spirit, and so I was so glad that we connected, and then we've become social media friends. And I noticed that we have like a gabillion of the same friends.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, I feel very special because all your friends are smart, okay? Now, I know I'm smart, but your friends are smart. Sometimes I need Webster's when I look at some of this. When I look at some of this dialogue, so that means you smart too, So, Tim,
yes.
Tell our audience tonight, what makes Tim Wortham, and don't downplay what I'm going to ask you, okay?
Okay.
What makes Tim Wortham so awesome?
What makes me so awesome? You know what? I think that I can actually answer that now. And I think what makes me awesome is finally knowing that I am enough.
That's powerful.
And it is really that simple. I don't think I would have even been able to utter the words, I am awesome, until I got to the point that I first felt like I was enough.
Mm-hmm. And so, you've written this book called Daddy Issues.
Yeah.
And you have taken us on this journey with an amazing story. And from what I've read so far, like, it's definitely a page turner, and I'm fully engaged. So, the book is called Daddy Issues. And y'all, if you don't have Tim's book, Daddy Issues, by all means, we're going to make sure that we have the link where you can purchase Daddy Issues in the comments. We definitely want you to buy it, and we definitely want you to support it. And before tonight's episode is over, I'm going to gift a copy of Tim's book to someone tonight. So, Tim, Daddy Issues, why that title?
So I chose that title because the phrase had for so long been, used in basically a derogatory way to describe women, young women who found themselves with old men, not just older, but old men, strippers, all these types of marginalized women who we would just chalk it up to daddy issues. She has daddy issues. And so I wanted it to be clear that women and girls are not the only ones who are impacted by the absence of a father. But men and boys have also lasting trauma attached to when their father is not present. And so I felt like it was a conversation that was not had enough, but was absolutely necessary.
I know that, for me, someone who's also an author and a creative, there was a point in a part of my journey, of me getting where I am now. There was part of my story that I didn't want to tell. And I didn't want to tell it because at some point during my journey, I felt like a failure. But the moment that I was able to tell my story and own my story, not only did it empower me, but it also gave me courage to take bigger leaps in my career. So now my question to you, and I set it up that way because I want to know, what was the defining moment to make you want to tell your story? Because, the moment we put anything out here on social media, period, that means you're inviting other people into your space.
Yes.
Whether you like their response or comment or not, you've invited them in. And so then people become invested in you and your story.
Yes.
So what was the defining moment for you to tell your story?
The defining moment was really a series of conversations that I was having with my male friends, and just hearing these recurring themes and hearing how many things we shared as far as just issues that we've had to overcome as men trying to be, productive, good, upstanding men, successful, and getting to the point where I committed to, as you said in your opening, helping others heal from what I myself have mostly healed from. I like to say that I'm healed enough at this
Mhm.
point that I'm able to help even as my process continues. And so getting to the point where my commitment to helping others heal uh, became larger than the fear of being this vulnerable, that was the pivot. Like that was the turning point for me that said, at least you have to write it. And then once it's finished, we'll get to determine whether or not we're actually going to share it with anyone, but at least you need to write it.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I decided to share it. And I can remember even now when I posted that the book was available, just the sheer terror I experienced once people started commenting, because I'm thinking, yeah, y'all saying how great this is, but you haven't read it yet. And I don't know what you're going to think of me, how you're going to feel about me after you read it. And, I don't know whose opinions of me will change. I don't know who will take something and interpret it in a way that maybe I didn't intend, or in a way that isn't necessarily healing, but might even be harmful. And so there was a great deal of anxiety attached to just knowing that now it's out
Mhm. So, somebody put in the comments "healed enough," because I want to hone in on that phrase that you just said, "healed enough." And so I think about, because I'm a critical thinker, I am the person who's going to analyze things because of the fact that I'm cautious, but I'm not fearful. I'm fearless.
there. Okay.
And so when you said healed enough, for me, I can relate to that. And I'm hoping that my viewers can relate to that, healed enough. So when you are healed enough, that means I have enough inside of me to help you without me being a fraud.
Absolutely.
Because, I think sometimes we get so anxious and excited because we've gotten a portion of the healing. But if we're not healed enough, we're operating out of turn, out of season, and out of time.
Yes.
And so when you start to do that, maybe I shouldn't say fraud, it might be a little harsh, but you're operating immaturely because you're
Yes.
not fully mature. And so healed enough, what makes you say healed enough? What determines being healed enough?
So healed enough for me is first that part that you said, that
Mhm,
there is enough, I've overcome enough to actually be able to help someone at least to that point.
mhm.
But the reason I say healed enough is because it allows me to acknowledge actively that I'm still in process, that I'm
That's
still,
it.
progressing towards total healing. I don't sit here and pretend that, everything is great and every scar has been removed and every wound has healed. But I have gotten to a point where I know this isn't an issue any longer. That
Mhm.
doesn't hurt the way it used to. I can now talk about this without breaking down and just being a big ball of mess. And so that's where that healed enough concept comes from. I can now help you without falling apart in the midst of helping you.
Mhm. I agree. And I can relate because I know, for certain things that happen in my life, I'll become like such a waterhead. Okay. Like, listen, like I would become an emotional mess. And there'll be times like I would have like a whole Baptist funeral fallout, because of certain life situations, And so once I got past that, I was just
Yeah.
like, listen, this what you got? You got, yeah, I'm healed enough. That's a t-shirt, Tim.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the book. Let's get into this
All right.
story. And so, the first few pages, what I did read, you had what appeared to be the perfect family,
Yeah.
you know, and I think all of us, especially, young girls, we view the perfect family: mom, dad, sibling, house on the hill, white picket fence, dog, cat. You go to school, parents drop you off, you're a car rider, not a bus rider, and everybody eats dinner every night, together. The perfect family. And then if we compare that to the church world says the perfect family is everybody go to church every time the doors open. We all sit on the same pew as a family. We dressed up. Dad got on a suit and tie. Mom got on a hat. The little girls, we got on bobby socks and dresses. And the young men got on suits.
Yeah.
A perfect family. And then, you talk about the day that your life changed. I think you said you were 3 years old. I think it was 3 years old. And your sister was born in like Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Yes.
And so you came along 14 months later here in Philly. So the day your dad left, from what you can recall, what was it about that day that made that day different than any other day?
So that's the thing. I cannot remember the day.
Mm-hmm.
All I can remember is there was a period of time where he was there,
Mm-hmm.
and then there was a period of time where he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't, recall any conversation happening, any argument happening, him grabbing his stuff and leaving or anything like that. I can just remember him not being there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just kind of, I guess at 3 things are just kind of blurry anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's really all I can remember is by the time I started daycare, he just wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. So present day Tim,
Yes.
now, healed Tim now. If your dad was here right now, what would you say to him?
Well, first I would want to make sure that he knows that I forgive him.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also want to let him know that I understand more now.
Mm-hmm.
Because even before he passed, he passed when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And so even at 16, I couldn't fully grasp some of the concepts that I'm able to kind of navigate at this stage of life. But I would just kind of want to sit down, more than tell him anything, I would want to hear from him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be far more meaningful for me, is just to kind of, selfishly, there are very specific things I would love to hear. I would love to hear his thoughts on how I'm doing right now. I would love to hear that he's proud of the man that I've become. I would love for him to meet his grandchildren and his daughter-in-law. That would be the part for me that would be most meaningful.
And so when I read your description of how you described your father, Timmy, who was the boxer, who could knock anybody out, but also the man who could build an infrastructure on a house, also the man who could preach, this man who had multiple talents and gifts. And here's the thing, his multiple talents and gifts were things that would help other people. Let's dig into the part of when you have all these gifts and talents that help other people, but the home front is not what it appears to those who you live with. So how did it make you, as you became a husband and a father?
Mm-hmm.
How did it make you, how did it help you create your decision-making process? How did that impact you? How does this impact you with your relationship, with your child and with your wife, based on what you saw?
Well, I can say one thing that was just clear to me from the beginning was I was going to be present.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been playing in church, oh my gosh, for a long time, about 30 years now, it feels like. And, when you have that level of responsibility, there is a great expectation that you're just, like you said earlier, you're always going to be there. You're always going to be in your place. You're always going to be available. But once I had children, once I had a family, there were certain things that I knew that I just was not willing to sacrifice. There were things that I knew that I was just not willing to miss because my father never saw a graduation. Kindergarten, 5th grade, 8th grade, high school, college, not a single one. He never saw me in a school play. He never saw a recital. He never saw a football game. He never saw any of that. And I understood intimately what his absence meant. But what I couldn't quantify was what his presence would have meant. And I wanted my children to only know what my presence meant and not have to know what my absence felt like.
Wow.
And so there were times where, I had to find a sub, find somebody to fill in for me, or just let them know I wasn't going to be able to be there. But I was just determined to be present. You cannot overstate the importance of just presence. It's so vital. I remember part of Job's story. They were talking about his friends came and they just sat with him and didn't say a word. Because in that moment, in that level of torment that he was experiencing, there was really nothing that they were going to say to him that was going to make him feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But there was comfort found in them just being present.
Somebody put that in the comment. You have to be present. You have to be present. And so being present means not just being present physically, but being present emotionally.
Yes.
Being present, not just to speak, but being present also to hear.
Yes.
And so for me, hearing you say that, it's like such a blessing, because when you think about the daddy issues that, several men who I know have faced those issues, they're determined as fathers not to bring that into the relationship with their children. But at the same token, they are now having to learn how to communicate their emotions. Because I think for a man, communicating your emotions, that's another level of maturity.
Yes.
Because there's that trust factor that if I'm vulnerable, you take that for weakness. But really being vulnerable is a sign of strength. And so now I read all the things that, that you said you went through, and how, kids would ask you, where your daddy was. And you didn't have an answer. When you would ask your mom questions, and your mom, there goes that word again, present. Your mom was present. And she made sure that you knew that she was present.
Yes.
So what was the process like to actually deal with that? Now, I'm a firm believer of therapy, prayer, and appeal. I am, okay? All three, okay? Whichever order you want to take it, you might not need the pill, but we at some point, we all need therapy and prayer, okay? So now, what was that process like to work through that?
So, oh my goodness. I mean, there were a lot of, there were challenges, because though my mother was present, as you said, and I mean, she did an amazing, amazing job of just making sure that we had everything that we needed. She was very supportive. She showed up. For a boy who is trying to grow into manhood, there is always a longing for there to be a man to affirm and to validate him.
That's
and
good.
So I always found myself searching for who that person was going to be. And I mean, I was very fortunate. I had a number of folks who kind of filled that gap and stepped into that role. But even as I mentioned earlier this week on another platform, there was a season where I was driven by my void, and I was searching for how to fill that space.
And what did that look like, driven by your void?
So that looked like just, I think the biggest way that it manifests was in just being a people pleaser.
Wow.
Because there was such a period of time where, because I never knew why my father left,
mm-hmm.
that also meant I couldn't be sure that it wasn't because of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was this fear that, all right, so I have the ability to make someone so upset with me that they leave and never come back.
Wow.
And so if there was someone who was meaningful, especially a man in my life, who I looked up to, who I admired, then I was going to go out of my way to make sure that they thought highly of me, that they were pleased with my presence, that I was value added, so to speak. And I would not make waves. I would not advocate for myself. If they were going here and I wasn't really interested, I would go anyway. Things like that, because I didn't want to risk them to saying, well, fine, you go do you, and I'll just never see you again. There was that point where I could not truly define what it is that make people leave and not come back.
Okay, stop right there. I need y'all to hashtag daddy issues, because we need to make Tim's book get seen a lot of places. I need everybody needs comments to hashtag daddy issues. So let's dig into this. So the people pleasing part, and really getting that sense of feeling wanted.
Mhm.
And I think that's what, we as, adults, always wanted from our parents as children and as adults. Even though sometimes the roles are reversed as we get older and we're now the caretakers for our parents, we still want to feel wanted.
Yeah.
And that's the part of being affirmed. But the people pleasing portion is what I really want to dig into, that part. And so, when you are at a phase of, people pleasing, which means that you become the person who silently suffers, the
Yep.
person who silently sacrifices, the person who is unhappy and miserable, all for the sake of the validation that you want from somebody else. So I want to say to anybody that's watching this tonight, make sure you get Tim's book, Daddy Issues. And let's talk about, Tim, how do we break that? What did you do to break that?
So I think that goes back to the I am enough part.
Mhm.
And so this maturing sense of self helped me become less concerned, I'll say, for lack of a better word, less concerned about the opinions of others outside of those who really matter. Obviously, what my wife thinks of me matters a lot, carries a lot of weight. What my children think about me carries a lot of weight. But the whole world can't determine whether I believe I'm great or whether I believe I'm trash. Like, I cannot be willing to relinquish that level of power that literally a stranger on the street can make a remark to me that makes me feel like I'm worthless. And so getting to this place where I had to kind of reclaim my own power and my own sense of agency and understand that I am responsible for not only who I am, but how I feel about myself.
Mhm.
Like, nobody can tell me how to feel about me. I control that. I control what I see when I look in the mirror. I control what I say to myself about myself. And sometimes it is just that literal where you're standing in the mirror and you're saying, you know what, you are great. You are amazing. You are gifted. You are talented. You are educated. You are intelligent. Just whatever it is that you feel like you need to reaffirm in yourself. Sometimes we have to make it that intentional and that literal, where we speak to ourselves, where we speak life to ourselves, where we speak encouragement to ourselves. And I've had to do those sorts of things. We don't preach a lot about self affirmation. That's some other people's stuff, but it's real, it's legitimate, and it is absolutely helpful.
Somebody put in the comments, keep your power, honey. Keep your power. Keep your power. So, Tim, my next question to you is this, because this is really encouraging. And I want to make sure that any father that's here, if you have questions for Tim, make sure you put them in the comment section. I am gifting one of Tim's books tonight to one of the viewers here tonight, but you have to participate in the comment section. And I asked Tim also, the person who I gift the book to, if he would have called them personally and wished them a happy Father's Day, and he agreed to that for me. And so, Tim, I want to get to two other things that this conversation is really, really good. Okay. Two other things I want to ask you.
Okay.
The first thing is, what do you say to your friends? Because your friends who are fathers, okay, and your friends who are fathers, and although their story is not your story and your story is not their story, there's still some commonalities.
Mhm.
So what do you say to your friends who still fight with this and they're struggling to get to the healed, and I'm healed enough?
Well, one of the things is to encourage them to distance themselves from the popular culture definition of what we are supposed to be. Obviously, a lot of my peers look like me, come from where I came from, and are fed so many negative stereotypes about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, step one is for them to kind of retreat from all that external noise and make space and time to truly examine who they are, because part of being a great father is being first an authentic person.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot father well from a place of inauthenticity. And so if they are able to first gain this sense of self and who they are, then they're able to kind of shift the focus onto who they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's more often than not, a gap between who I am in this moment and who I ultimately want to be. I don't know if I've ever encountered someone who was like, I am exactly who I want to be for the rest of my life. Most of us are ever growing, ever evolving. But once we can identify those things, then we can kind of seek out. Don't be afraid. This is something I talked about in the book. Don't be afraid to ask someone for help. There's someone who is modeling where you're trying to get to. And don't allow the world now calls it toxic masculinity, but don't allow your pride to cause you to feel like, well, I'm a man, I just have to figure it out. I spent a lot of time in that space where I had access to wisdom. I had access to information, but in my quest to be what I thought was a man, I felt like my responsibility was to figure it out for myself. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made along the way, was not taking advantage of those who were more than willing to assist me in my process. They didn't want anything. They had no expectations, no ulterior motives, but my pride prevented me from taking advantage of what I had access to.
Oh, stop right there. Put it in the comments. Pride, say that again. Pride prevented you from taking advantage of what you had access to. And I want you to say it though. I want you to say it.
My pride prevented me from taking advantage of what I had access to.
That is so good. And so, here's a unique thing about daddy issues. Even though a male figure wrote it from his perspective, women have daddy issues that are just equally as significant. And so I share a portion, of my upbringing, so this is why I was so excited, because I was raised in a home with a mother and a father. I have a younger brother. I'm the oldest. So it's the four of us. We had the house, we had the picket fence. I had a dog, had all those things. And so my family unit did not break up until I became an adult. So I have it reversed. And so what was so weird is that, and I guess I probably shouldn't say weird, but what is really like crazy is that I look like my mom, but I had my dad's characteristics. But I didn't want to have them, And my brother looks like my dad, but actually is like my mom.
Wow.
And so, and I say weird because as we got older, as when my parents, they separated. But even through them being separated, my dad died 5 years ago this year. But even through them being separated, my dad refused to divorce my mom. He refused to divorce her at all. And so I think about it, now that my dad's no longer here, those last 10 years of him being on this earth, our relationship was not what I would have wanted it to be. I got through the phase of forgiveness, and when he was dying, we had long got past that part. But I think about, I had some of the similar issues that you had. When you have that thing that those of us who are leaders and creatives, there's something inside of you that sometimes you cannot articulate, but you have that thing, like you have that, like I know that I have that secret sauce. And sometimes that secret sauce, it drives you. And so when it drives you, when you see, I'll use my dad, when I would see his behavior and his mannerism, that's where our friction came in, because I had this secret sauce. I knew that I was going to be somebody. I knew that I was going to make an impact in the world. But then I have a dad who's struggling with substance abuse issues, who's smart, college graduate, but you're on drugs. Yeah. My first job in corporate America, I worked in the jail in North Carolina. So for those of you who don't know, I'm originally from North Carolina. So y'all hear my accent good because I'm keeping it. But I worked in a jail in North Carolina, and I never forget the day I worked at the jail the day my dad was being brought into the jail.
Wow.
Yes. And so it's things like that why I say that I can relate, And I'm grateful that I'm over those things and they don't terrorize me or haunt me anymore. I'm in such a good place now. Last year was my first year that, Cameron, this is for you. Last year was my first year. I didn't have a Baptist fallout at Father's Day because I usually fall apart,
Oh.
I didn't have a Baptist fallout last year. But I say that to say that women and girls with daddy issues, they're similar to the male figure, although they are not exactly the same. I think daddy issues are issues that cannot be ignored and must be addressed. And I think if they are not addressed, you sow a seed for something you don't want to grow. It's my thought process behind it. So now I said all that to say this. So I just told you part of my story, okay? You said in the beginning that when you made your post, and how you was thinking, what will people say? You have that moment, because I've had those moments too when I think, oh my God, I'm telling my business, how he would view me, the girl who every time you see her, she got a beat face and she got on nice clothes, but she has struggles too. She got issues too. And sometimes I would get tormented by that too, So walk us through the moment that you hit click on that post on Facebook. Take us inside your mindset where you're sweating, where you're like, oh my God, I've done it now.
Yeah, I just remember posting it and like minimizing the screen, like minimizing the window and just kind of breathing and thinking, did I really just do that? Because literally up to that point, I had the freedom to just change my mind. I had the freedom to, and the funny thing is, so I wanted to have a very intentional release. I wanted to set a date, do some marketing leading up to, and what I didn't know was when the publisher sent me the final version, the final edited version with the cover and everything, when I approved that, I also authorized the release. I had no idea that that was the case. That it wasn't explained quite clearly enough that I got that. But I have to wonder if God orchestrated that so that I could not change my mind. Because it was out then. If I never posted it, you could have stumbled across it. Somebody could have just ran a random search, especially since I have music coming out soon. They could have just put my name in on Amazon and the book would have popped up. And so it kind of robbed me of the opportunity to say, never mind. I'm just going to keep this one. I'm going to keep this to myself because I did gain a lot from just kind of writing it out and rehashing and recounting and retelling. There was something very therapeutic, something very cathartic in it for me personally. But I knew when I started that it wasn't about me. Mm-hmm. And so changing my mind wasn't an option. Saying never mind wasn't an option. Keeping it to myself wasn't an option. And so I was relieved that option was taken from me because I don't know for sure that I was strong enough and brave enough to make the decision otherwise.
Wow. So I got one more question and I'm gonna go to the questions from the viewers. Like, this is so good. This is like so good. So I set all of that up for two reasons,
Okay.
Two reasons, telling your story and being, So now we've talked about that portion. Take us to the part when you've had to really, or when, when your dad, transitioned, when he was gone, like prior to him dying, like what was that like?
So I was a mess. I was an absolute mess.
You forgave him.
So you mean the just the period of my life growing up when he was just not present? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was a stretch where he was at least still in Philly. I would see him occasionally because we lived at his parents' house. And so when he would come visit, we would be there. We would hang out every now and again. But then there was a period of time when I was in middle school, actually towards the end of elementary school, he moved to Minnesota. He was working at Flight Time Records, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis as a songwriter. And
he wrote a song for Sounds of Blackness too, right?
He did. He wrote a song called Your Wish Is My Command. Mm-hmm. And so
a song now either after we finish. All right, go ahead.
So I never once visited Minnesota. So all the years that he spent there, I just did not see him at all. And so there was a period of time where I admit that I just kind of pushed everything as far down as possible. And so it wasn't quite pretending that he didn't exist, but for my own sanity, I had to minimize his importance.
Minimize his importance. Wow. I got to sit back on that one. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I found distractions, some healthy, some unhealthy. I found surrogates, most of which were amazing. You know, my godfather in my youth, Bishop Bussey, who, I mean, really, really adopted me as one of his children, raised me as one of his sons. He gave me brothers, which I always wanted. And so that was a period of my life that it was almost easier because I knew I wasn't going to see it. There wasn't going to be the pop-up. There wasn't going to be this sense of wonder. I wonder if Dad's going to stop by this week. I wonder if there's going to be this. And so I was able to find some kind of normalcy, even though it wasn't ideal. It wasn't what I wanted. I was able to create for myself just this air of normalcy where I was able to just kind of exist in what my life was. And I found some acceptance, and not because I was healed, but because I had mastered the art of suppression.
Wait. Put that in the comments. Mastered the art of suppression. Wow. And then you said minimize his importance.
Yeah. So when I was in middle school, I started playing trombone, and we would have concerts. And when I went to high school, I made all city. And so, you know, every year we had a big concert at the Academy of Music. Never once did I allow myself to wish he was there. I couldn't go back to that space. I just accepted the fact that he was not going to be. And so every concert, every recital, every graduation, every event, I just did not allow myself to say, man, I wish Dad was here. Even though I did. I absolutely did. Absolutely. Every time I did. But I would not allow myself to acknowledge it. And of course, by the time I graduated from high school, he was already deceased. So he would not have been able to attend my high school graduation.
Wow. We do have questions coming in. Wow. Like, this is powerful. I set up the part about telling your story and about hitting the post and not being terrorized, because, you know, like I have those mental conversations too. You know, when I want to do something, you know, it's a great idea when it's just me. But when I put it out to the world, I just go with what I know. And sometimes I think I have an out-of-body experience. Do you ever experience that?
Yes.
What it is. So we're gonna start answering some questions from our viewers, but let me tell you my next out-of-body experience that I felt really great about it into this conversation now, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. My next episode of Coffee with Bridgett, I'm going to be the guest on my own show, and someone's going to interview me.
Whoa.
Yes, and no questions are off limit. I'll talk about my childhood. I'll talk about my divorce. I'll talk about how I've created a 6-figure business and how I've created a life that I absolutely love. I'll talk about, you know, my entire transition of living here in Pennsylvania, and I have no family that lives here. It's just me.
Wow. And
so for me now, I'm thinking like, what was I thinking about? But I'm going to do it.
It's out there now. Out there now.
That's why I said it, so I would commit. Really? Pete to my pick me, let me interview.
Oh, I will listen. I'll be there with my popcorn.
Alden, my friend, Alden, thank you for joining. I don't know if I can let Pete interview me. I told you. No, your group of friends, they smart. Yeah, I have to look up words for some of y'all conversations. All right, so we want to go to some of the questions from our audience. One question that we have, and I want to make sure, let me go back to make sure I read it accurately, or a comment is from Cameron Stokes. He said, speak on the need of fatherless men. And he put himself in parentheses, that look to others to father them in the church and left them with disappointment.
Yes. So, unfortunately, and I want to preface this because I know that there oftentimes when you make observations about things that occur in the church, sometimes it's seen as bashing the church. I have nothing but love, honor, respect for the church, proper. But there are individuals in church buildings who have less than godly motives.
I love how you made that safe. I just love how you made that so safe.
Right?
That's preachery the way you did it.
And so, it's unfortunate because those individuals are very good at identifying the vulnerable. They have a keen eye for the ones who need that void filled, and they use it to their advantage because they are not building the kingdom. They're building their own kingdom. And so when they insert themselves in a perverted father's role, then they make unto themselves, followers. You're no longer a follower of Christ. You're a follower of Bishop so-and-so, Apostle so-and-so, Pastor so-and-so. And so then they are able to manipulate you, control you, and it only elevates themselves. It builds their pedestals and their platforms and leaves you still with the same void you came in with. You think it's filled because it's physically filled, but it's not filled because they're not meeting the actual need. They're just providing presence and false praise. And so for that, I say, number one, it's difficult because it goes back to my talk about being driven by your void. It's difficult to be honest enough with yourself to acknowledge that your needs are not being met because you're so happy with just that presence and just that person giving you that attention. No matter, there's a part in the book where I talk about I was willing to settle for attention no matter how it came. Whether it was good, whether it was bad, whether it was healthy, whether it was unhealthy, it was attention either way. And so it's going to take a lot of prayer. You're going to have to listen to the people who point it out to you because there's always somebody who sees it from the outside, who's able to come to you and say, listen, I know you love your church and all, but something ain't right. Something ain't right. You have to be willing to at least entertain that possibility to hope that you can grow and your eyes be open. You got to pray about it, that God reveal motives to you so that you can be free from that, because that's bondage. Mm-hmm. That is a relationship that is literal bondage to you. You're not growing spiritually. You're not progressing emotionally. And it's an unhealthy relationship.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely unhealthy. And it goes back to what we said at the top of the show about being healed enough.
Yeah.
And, when you're not healed enough and you try to help others heal, you're doing more damage. You're doing more damage. You're damaging yourself, and you're also damaging the person who's in dire need. Yeah. And that's why it's so important when you are in the place of leadership, when you're in the place of, pouring and equipping and shepherding someone, or being that champion or that mentor or that advisor to help someone, you have to be healed enough. You cannot short step the healing process. And here's the thing, you have to acknowledge where you are in the process. Yeah. And I think that's what happens with us in the body of Christ. We don't acknowledge where we are in the process. We think because we have confessed it with our mouth that there's instant gratification, there's instant miracle, there's instant deliverance. And there are times this process takes longer because the issues of being hurt are so deep rooted.
Yeah.
And we're not truthful with ourselves So we can't be truthful with other people. And so we're really not being healed. We're really putting a Band-Aid on something. And the Band-Aid is keeping us in that same space. So no healing is taking place. The only thing that's happening is time is passing.
That's it. And
That's it.
can I tell you what's worse though? Is it's not even a Band-Aid, it's a mask. Because it's not even an attempted healing. Back when we started and you were talking about my vision of us being the perfect family, and you likened it unto the church where, you know, you dress this way, you sit here, and it's all about valuing the facade above the reality. If you can look the part, that becomes good enough.
Valuing the facade above the reality. That's good.
When looking the part is good enough.
When looking,
that's the problem.
I need that title. So don't charge me for it, okay? But I need that title.
Just give me the tape.
Y'all, I need that title. I'm doing a blog post on it next week. I hope my team heard that. When looking the part is not enough. So somebody from my team is on here. Please put that down so I don't forget. Wow. Tim, I know that I know you got another engagement at 8:30, but I need at least 10 more minutes. Can we have 10 more? Okay. Yep. Because I feel like we are helping somebody tonight. And I know you on crusade right now. You know, you in revival. Can we put up Tim's book again one more time to my producer? Can we put up Tim's book again, Daddy Issues? I want to make sure that everybody sees the cover of this book, which is what I want to talk about now, you know, Tim. The cover, you know, this cover was captivating. And so for me, when I saw the cover, two things came to mind. I love the cover. I love this. So y'all make sure y'all screenshot this cover, all right? And go and get Tim's book. So when I saw the cover, Tim, outside, you know, I'm executive president strategist, but I'm also a DEI manager, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so when I saw the cover, you know, I had to put my DEI lens on. So tell me, what is the, what was the decision to go with this cover?
So first, I have to shout out Antonio Marquis Scott, Keith the artist. He painted this image. And when he posted it and I saw it, I knew right away that it needed to be the cover of this book. And for me, when I looked at it, what I saw was...
You could bring us back now. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No problem. Both parts of that image I saw as myself. So it's little me with the big me that I'm striving to be. Just kind of, it's back to that suppression. It's like you're crying, you're hurting, but you just keep it in. Just hold it together. And so I looked at it and I thought it was like the perfect juxtaposition to represent just the conflict that was ever present as I tried to just navigate waters that unfortunately so many of us who are ill-equipped to navigate are forced into. You know, it's like your first time swimming and somebody pushes you in the deep end and you just got to kind of figure it out or you're going to drown. And that felt like my path. It was like, all right, yeah, you're only 5, you're only 6, but this is the hand you're dealt. What are you going to do?
Wow. When I saw the cover, the first thing I thought about was inclusion. I thought about, you know, a child. I want to be included. I just want to be included, you know, because, you know, we talk about now, especially creating an inclusive atmosphere, you know, an inclusive culture. And we talk about all those things and what inclusion looks like, and not just from the LGBTQ perspective, just period, you know, the human race, what inclusion looks like. And so the first thing I thought about was this: I just want to be included. As a child, I just want to be a part.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that I saw. Y'all, I got a couple more minutes with Tim, so y'all make sure y'all put your questions in here. And while you get your questions, I have a couple of announcements real quick. First, I have to give a shout out to my entire BB Experience crew. Whether y'all know it or not, I just come and sit in a chair. I have an amazing team that helps me behind the scenes. And believe it or not, y'all, I have 5 people on my team who make all this happen. Of course, Cam is behind there, and Cam does all of my digital. And then I also have my executive assistants and my social media strategists. All my team, are the ones who are behind the scenes, and they make sure that you get a good quality video, and they make sure that our guests get the confirmation as well as the link to sign on. So I have to give a shout out to my team who really supports me, and people who believe in my vision, and they're just committed to what they do just as much as I'm committed to what I do. And I'm grateful that I just get to be the talent. So I have to give a shout out because I want them to know that I appreciate them, especially because we're going to TV in the next couple of months. And 2 other quick announcements. Tomorrow night, you could change the screen. Tomorrow night, I am speaking tomorrow night on Living Life. That's Monday. Okay, Monday, I am speaking for Institute for Supplier Management. That I am the professional brandtastic development event focused on the development of your personal and your business brand. I'll talk to you about how you create your personal and your business brand so that they collaborate with each other and so that your story can be told accurately. And most importantly, that you're not leaving money on the table. So that is Monday. Also, we'll put a link, and if you have not seen it, it is on my page somewhere. We'll put a link of where you can actually sign up for this conference. This is a nationwide conference, and I'm super excited to be able to speak on Monday. And then tomorrow night, I'm speaking tomorrow night on living intentionally tomorrow night. I think we have that graphic too, if we can put that one up. That one's tomorrow night, and that's actually at my church for the singles ministry. And so, which is really great that I get a chance to share with other men and women of God, about really living your life. We say live our best life, but what does that really mean? When I say I'm doing me, what does that really mean? And when you said authenticity earlier, when you said authenticity earlier, I think what got me is that how one of the things that I pride myself in is making sure that I show up as my real self. And I say that from the perspective of the same person you see on the screen when you see me in the street, the same person. And I think that is so important, so that is tomorrow night. And if we don't have the graphic, I'll put it in the comment section. And then also I want to give a shout out again to tonight's sponsor, which is Creative Genius Studios out of Atlanta, Claude Hamilton. And Claude Hamilton is responsible for tonight's jacket with my logo. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, reach out to Claude Hamilton. Claude is actually the person who designed my logo with the 2 BBs. So when y'all see the BBs, everybody knows that it's me. And along with that, Claude has also created some other amazing things as well. So make sure that if you are a business owner and a creative and you want to expand your brand, that you connect with amazing people. See my wallet, and it's leather, y'all, that he's created for me, as well as so when y'all see me going to Cabo, see my duffel bag, and then here are my pool slides, Tim. Okay, but see, here's the thing. Let me tell you, I don't post bathing suit pictures, so the Saints won't be getting me. Okay, won't be getting me. All right, so just before we let Tim go, I want to see if there's anybody else who has any additional questions for Tim. Tim, this has been such an amazing time that we've spent together. And Tim, parting words before I do the giveaway. And let me do the giveaway first, and then I'll let you have the parting words. All right. Let's see here. Who do we want to give away the book to tonight? So let's see who commented a lot tonight. We got some good shares here tonight, and tonight, is Cameron related to you?
He already has a book.
Okay. All right. Does see who else? Can you look on the Facebook Live and see if there's anybody on here that's your friends who already have a book, so I don't pick them?
Yeah, it looked like just Cam and of course my wife. She got all the books she wants.
Okay, all right. So let's see here. Okay. And it look, Cameron, I think he wants the phone call. Okay. All right, let me see. All right. Eric Holmes. Eric, are you still here, Eric? Oh, Dougie, are you still here? All right. This is what I'm gonna do. Let me see if Eric is still here. Eric, are you still here? How much are the books?
Paperbacks are 14 and the hardbacks are 24.
All right. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm feeling okay. All right. I don't think Eric is still here. All right, Eric is gone. You snooze, you lose. All right, so I'm gonna give a book. I'm gonna give a book to a man and a woman. I'm gonna do 2 books. So I'm gonna give a book to Dougie, because Dougie to my me. I'll give a book to Dougie, and I'll give a book to Benita because she raised her hand in the comment. So so what you need to do, Dougie and Benita, just because y'all my friends, don't mean you text me your address. You need to send an email to info@thebbexperience.com so that it goes through the proper channels and that we can get you the book. All right. Make sure you email info@thebbexperience.com and I will gift you both a book. And Tim, can I get you to make 2 phone calls?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I'm not gonna wish the woman a happy Father's Day.
Wish Benita a happy Father's Day. But Benita has a son. That's why I did that. She has a son who just graduated from high school not too long ago. So, I think this would be great, Yeah, so you're not gonna wish Benita a happy Father's Day. Benita, I got you. I wasn't gonna let that go down like that. So, Tim, if my audience wants to connect with you, Tim, how can they connect with you?
You can find me on Facebook at Tim Wortham Jr. Same on Instagram, and hopefully we'll have a site up and running soon. But Facebook is where I am most active, and so please reach out, connect with me there.
Mm-hmm. Tim, you have been like such an amazing guest. The conversation, I could really keep going on and on, but I want people to keep coming back. So I don't want to keep them longer than an hour because I want them to keep coming back. But if y'all enjoyed tonight's conversation, I need you to make sure you share. I need to make sure that you encourage other people to go back and listen. If you're not a subscriber to Coffee with Bridgett, I would love to have you join my CEO community. You can, of course, my Facebook page is open. So whether you're my friend or not, you can watch my stuff. But my YouTube channel, if you could subscribe to Bridgett Battles on YouTube. All right. So Tim, before we make our toast, because I know you're a preacher, you run into the next service. Because Tim is going to be speaking again tonight about his book at 8:30. You want to tell everybody where you're going to be at 8:30?
I will also share that one on my page. So if you want to jump on, feel free. It'll be there available.
Awesome. Alan Willoughby, thank you. Alan, I'm sure you know Alan Willoughby.
Oh, of course. That's my brother.
Alan and his beautiful wife, Sophia, also go to my church. So thank you all so much for watching tonight and commenting. All right. So Tim, at the end of every show, we toast. And so you've already blessed us with your mug tonight. But just before we toast, I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. I hope that we said something to make you think, something to encourage you, and something to make you want to sow a seed into someone's life on Sunday, whether or not it's a spirit of love, a hug, or whatever, to celebrate an amazing Father on Sunday. Tim, give us our last words.
I will close by saying that every story is unique, but healing is available for us all. So to healing.
Cheers.